Raiders head coach candidate grades coming at you today here on the Raiders Report. My name is Mitchell Renz, and the way that we are going to do this show is this. I am first going to talk about the offensive head coaches that are interviewing for the Silver and Black, and then I will go to the defensive coaches that are interviewing. I want to be very clear. I am recording this video before the Texans and Steelers game, so if there's any other potential Raiders head coach candidates that get announced from now until tomorrow morning when this video goes out, I do apologize. But the reason why I wanted to be able to do this video is I always look in the comments section, and I saw a lot of fans ask me, Mitch, do you think you could potentially do Raiders head coach candidate grades just the same way you do for free agency, the same way that you do it for the NFL draft? So you're going to see A, B, C, D, or F. I'm going to be honest. I'm a tough grader. A, it's exceptional. B, good. C is average. D is bad. F is a fail. Hopefully, I don't give out too many Fs today. If you don't already know, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing my best to keep you guys up to date around all things going on with this Raiders head coach search. Because, yes, it's important to have the number one overall pick. Yes, it's important to be able to have 10 draft picks. It's important to be able to have over $100 million in salary cap. But if you don't got the right guy leading the ship, then all that other ship stuff turns into shit stuff. So to make sure you don't miss anything, make sure you're subscribed. Let's first start here with Nate Scheelhaase, pass game coordinator of the Los Angeles Rams, and he has been underneath Sean McVay for the past 2 seasons. Also, for those of you that do not know, I am a big fan of Matt Campbell, former Iowa State head coach. Now he is with the Penn State Nittany Lions, and he was there from 2018 to 2023. I believe that that's important because when you are a part of a program that's really nothing, and then you get turned into something special, that's worth noting to me. I know with Iowa State, it's college. That's also kind of what I think the Raiders are going to try to do. Go from being shit to something that people actually talk about. And let's also face the facts here. If you're going to bring in somebody that doesn't call plays, he better have a lot of experience working with a quarterback. Played quarterback at Illinois from 2010 to 2013. If the Raiders were to go out and hire Nate Scheelhaase, I would give this a C grade. I said this before on the Raiders Report that I actually believe that this is more of a offensive coordinator hiring and / offensive coordinator interview. If the Silver and Black were to bring in Scheelhaase as their OC, I would sit up here and I'd go, that's a really good hire because you're coming from the Sean McVay tree. Let's go to another guy coming in from the McVay tree. It's Mike LaFleur, Rams offensive coordinator. Even though he does not call plays, when you get coaches from the McVay tree, I've said that 100 times, probably this offseason, maybe 1,000 times since I've done this show. But he does have some past offensive coordinator experience with the Jets when he was underneath Robert Saleh in 2021 and 2022. But you're telling me I get somebody from McVay and the Shanahan tree? Obviously, I'm going to be interested in that. Only 38 years old. He's been coaching in college football in the NFL since 2009, and this was somebody that I was excited about. This was somebody that I did have for my Raiders in my top 5 coach candidates. For that reason, I'm going to sit up here. I'm going to go, if Mike LaFleur were to be hired, I would give this an A- grade. I would be happy about it, and I think a lot of Raiders fans would. I understand there's probably a little bit of concern because he hasn't called plays, but at the same time, when you're working underneath Sean McVay, I'll tell you this, I'd rather have somebody who's never called plays working underneath Sean McVay than somebody who has been calling plays that's not working underneath Sean McVay. Let's go to the next candidate here. It's going to be Kevin Stefanski, former Browns head coach. And overall, the last 2 seasons were not good. 6-23. The overall record's not very good either. The other problem with Stefanski is I don't think he did a good job developing quarterbacks. And for the Raiders, where you're at right now, you look at how the Deshaun Watson situation was handled. You look at how this past year with Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel, I understand that Stefanski was a 2-time Coach of the Year, but I look at the Raiders' current situation, and I separate it from the way that I look at Stefanski. And then I go, would I want Stefanski in this current situation with the Raiders? The more and more people I talk to, the more I find myself saying no. Now, if the Raiders go out and they get him, I'm going to give it a C grade. I think it's better than Pete Carroll, but when you talk about all of the coaching candidates for the Raiders, I feel like this one is a little bit of an average grade overall. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a C. Let's go to the next name here. It's going to be Klint Kubiak. Spoiler alert, this guy's going to get an A grade. Current offensive coordinator for the Seahawks. He's got Vikings experience. He's got Saints experience. Son of former Super Bowl winning head coach Gary Kubiak. I don't know why I said it like that. 38 years old, got a tons of Shanahan ties, and I've said this 100 times on this show. Look at what the Raiders offense has. Running back like Ashton Genty, 2 young tight ends in Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. The style of offense Kubiak runs, I literally think is perfect for a Fernando Mendoza and the pieces that we have. For that reason, I'm going to give this one an A+. Spoiler alert, you're only going to see one other A+ grade on this show. And it's not because I don't love some of these other coaches, but you have to be able to figure out a way to put tiers. You got to be able to figure out a way to separate good coaches from great coaches to excellent coaches for the silver and black, which is exactly why I am here today. So here's going to be the $1 million question. For Mark Davis, it's a $50 million plus dollar question. Who's the best head coach candidate for the Raiders? You let me know. I'm going to let you know who I believe it is right here after this YouTube ad break. To me, I got 2 coaches. If you want to go with an offensive-minded head coach, it's Klint Kubiak to me. If you want to roll with a defensive-minded head coach, I'm going to say Jesse Minter. And the reason is you got to have a good plan. And when I sit back and I go, I can see the Kubiak plan on offense, and I can see the Minter playing with Tom Brady and John Spytek. It's not just about finding the best head coach. It's about finding the best head coach for your situation. And I believe it's these 2 guys right here. Let's go to another guy. It's Matt Nagy. And this is always going to be somebody that gets brought up. And I do think the reason why the Raiders brought him in, because you get a little bit of an inside scoop on your AFC West rival. He was the offensive coordinator for 2 of the Chiefs' Super Bowl wins. But when he was the head coach in Chicago, 34-31, again, some ups and downs depending on who you talk to, but it got bad there at the end. And I remember our host here at Chat Sports, Harrison Graham, the way that he would talk about Matt Nagy, it kind of reminds me a lot of the same way when I talk about John Gruden. It's they figured him out at the end of the year, and the offense became very stale, and it became very vanilla. So for that reason, I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to go, if the Raiders hire Nagy, it's an F grade. I do want to be clear, though. I don't think it's an F interview, and that's the big separation of what I want to get clear on this show. It makes sense to bring in Matt Nagy and talk to him from an AFC West standpoint. It does make sense to try to see what your opposition is doing. But from a hiring standpoint, if the Raiders hired Matt Nagy, I think I would personally fly to Las Vegas, and I'd have some real choice words for Tom Brady, John Spytek, and Mark Davis. Let's go to the next candidate here. It's going to be Davis Webb, quarterback coach of the Denver Broncos. He played quarterback in the NFL from 2017 to 2022. This is another up-and-coming coach around NFL circles. Was the Broncos quarterback coach in 2023 and 2024, and right now is the QB coach and pass game coordinator. One thing you got to give Webb credit for. Yes, Peyton's going to get a lot of credit, and Peyton, you could definitely tell, is a phenomenal coach in terms of development for quarterbacks. I wasn't the biggest Bo Nix believer. Haters will say that I don't like Bo Nix, and you're right. But haters also should remember that I said the best spot for Bo, it was in Denver with Sean Payton. And you also got to be able to give Davis Webb a lot of credit for the way that Bo has materialized and matured as a young quarterback in the NFL. So if the Raiders were to go out and hire Webb, it would be a C+ grade. I want to be clear on this one too, though. I believe that this was an interview for a offensive coordinator position, not a head coaching job. If you told me the Raiders went out and they hired Davis Webb to be their OC, I think that that would be an outstanding hire. Yes, it depends who you got at head coach. But if you told me Klint Kubiak, Davis Webb, sign me up for that. Jesse Minter and a Davis Webb, sign me up for that. I want young, innovative coaches. And if you want young, innovative, offensive-minded coaches, Davis Webb's one of the best names out there on the market. Coming up next here, we're going to get into some more grades for the defensive head coach candidates that have at least had one interview request from the Silver and Black. Before I get into that, you see this chain right here? Don't show this show to Michael Crabtree. No, I'm just kidding. Show it to Crabtree, though I'm worried Aqib Talib would try to steal this bad boy. I'm trying to change the game, and I know GLD is as well, because let's face the facts here. Finding high quality and affordable options when you're a male, I think it can be a little bit difficult. Spoiler alert, the picture on screen, I know it's not me, but I think personally I'm looking pretty darn fly right now in my chain. They got over 2 million customers, 50,000 5-star reviews, and it's been worn by stars like Justin Bieber, Micah Parsons, Malik Neighbors, Kevin Durant. Also, GLD has it all. They're talking chains, pennants, rings, earrings, fully iced out watches, probably watches that even Shador would be jealous of. So you can find the perfect gift for anyone out there. Also, GLD has an official collab with the NFL, so you can get every NFL team on a pennant this season. They also have official collabs with the NBA, WNBA, MLB, NCAA, MLS, and even DC Comics. No, not Derek Carr. Chains and pennants that let you rep what you love. So work hard, change the game, and for a limited time only, new customers are getting an insane deal. Listen to this deal. Use code CHAT, that's CHAT, to get 50% off at GLD.com. That's 50% off with code CHAT at GLD.com. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support the Raiders Report and tell them that Mitchell Renz, Chat Sports, and the Raiders Report sent you. If it's good enough for me, if it's good enough for the Raiders Report, I don't know about y'all. I've had a lot of people asking me where I got my chain. If you want to go get one, that link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's program. Let's go to the very next here, Raiders head coach candidate. This time we're talking defensive side of the football. Ejiro Evero. I said that wrong. Evero. Played for the Oakland Raiders in 2004. I always like to put those notes in there because I know Raider fans are like, and I'm kind of the same way. Again, I'm not an insider. I'm not a beat reporter. If I hear something, I see something, I'm going to tell you. When I hear coaches that were once Raiders, yeah, you're damn right I'm going to put it in the show. He does have a lot of defensive coordinator experience. He's been with Carolina since 2023, was with Denver in 2022. Also another guy, though, worked underneath Sean McVay from 2017 to 21. The reason why I'm going to sit up here and I'm going to give it a C grade is because I just don't think he has enough experience compared to a lot of the other defensive-minded coaches that we could potentially bring in. I like that he's young. I like that he's innovative. You're not going to be able to bring him in to be at DC again. He's already over there with Carolina. But in terms of an interview, this is a very smart interview, and it's because you brought in Vance Joseph, now you brought in Evero, and you're sitting here going, well, now we've satisfied the Rooney Rule. So if you want to go out and get one of your top guys, somebody that I got an A-plus grade on here, you can do it now because you satisfied that Rooney Rule. Let's go to another defensive coordinator here. It's going to be Chris Shula, and he's been the Rams DC for the past 2 seasons, and he's worked underneath McVay since 2017. Grandson of coaching legend Don Shula and the 72 Dolphins, 39 years old. He's been in the game, NFL, college football since 2010. Very highly regarded young mind. They didn't have a lot of money to spend this past year on the defense. He struggled over the past month, I'm not going to lie to y'all. And at one point, Shula was my number 2 coach. If you go back and you look at my Pete Carroll video that I did about 6 weeks ago where I was like, hey, y'all, Pete's going to get fired. Once he does get fired, here are the top 10 coaches that I'm looking at. Shula was number 2 on that list. I'll be real. Shula would not be number 2 on my videos at this point. Still, though, it's a great grade. I'm going to give it an A grade because if you're telling me I can get somebody that is regarded as the next Sean McVay that has grown up around football as much as what Shula has, you can tell that he's a smart dude. I do think some injuries have played a factor into what the Rams have done and maybe have not done on that defensive side of the football. But if you brought in Shula, it's about building a great coaching staff. And when you look at a lot of the other interviews that the Raiders have brought in, I do think that you'd be able to build a hell of a staff with Shula. Let's go to Jeff Hafley next up here, defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, and he's been there the past 2 seasons. Was the Boston College head coach from 2020 to 2023. 46 years old. He's been coaching since 2001, and this is another guy that comes from some very interesting trees. And if you were to tell me, Mitch, who do you think is your number 1 under-the-radar coach that the Silver and Black could go out and get? I'll say Jeff Hafley, and that's because of some of the connections that he's had with Shanahan, Mike McDaniel. If you told me Mike McDaniel's the OC, Hafley might be one of those guys that you got to consider. In terms of if he was hired as the Raiders coach, I would give this a B grade. I think it'd be a good move. And you could go worse. You could do better. For Hafley, it would really come down to who is his offensive coordinator. Because if it's an OC that I like, the Hafley grade goes up. If it's an OC that I don't like, I would sit up here and I go, this might be a failure. Let's go to another candidate here. It's going to be Vance Joseph. He was the Broncos head coach from 2017 to 2018. He had an 11-21 record. DC right now currently for Denver. And as you can see, Cardinals, Dolphins, lots of defensive coordinator experience. And he is a respected defensive mind, 53 years old. The reason why I'm bringing up a lot of ages is because after you have a guy that's 74 and clearly washed up, I mean, let's face the facts here. I've talked more about ages with head coaches than I probably ever have before in my entire life. And I'll say this, was a smart interview. Not only does it help you get the Rooney Rule, it also helps you get that inside look at a division rival and one of the best defenses in all of the National Football League. But I want to be clear here. If the Raiders hired Vance Joseph or Matt Nagy, I would go absolutely bananas, and not in the good Gwen Stefani Bananas way. It would be a very, very bad bananas show. I went live for 11 hours and 35 minutes when Pete Carroll was fired. I went live for 26 hours when Josh McDaniels was fired. If the Raiders hired Vance Joseph or Matt Nagy, I don't know if I would even go live. No, I'm just kidding. I would. I'd obviously go live. And if you're new to the show, then hey, this is the Raiders Report family. I want to be able to prove to people why we have this many subscribers on this program. And we're getting tons of new subscribers every single day. Join the family if you bleed silver and black and if you want to become the smartest Raider fan that you can become. I promise you this right now. We're going to be the show to do that for you. And if you don't feel like you learned anything after a week, if you don't feel like you enjoy the program after a week, it's all good. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, though I'm more of a coffee guy. So subscribe if you don't like it. You can also unsub after the first week. Let's go to the next name here, and spoiler alert again. You obviously know how I feel about Jesse Minter. This has been the number one name that has been brought up to me, and he has been working with Jim Harbaugh. He's been working with John Harbaugh since 2017. Was the Michigan defensive coordinator in 2022 and 2023 when they won a national championship. Brady and Spytek, there's Michigan ties there. Jesse Minter, I believe, is the coach that the Raiders want to hire. Right now, what the Raiders are going to be battling and what the Raiders are dealing with is the Baltimore Ravens. So when you have to interview Vance Joseph, when you have to interview Evero, it's important that you interview those two guys to, again, satisfy the Rooney Rule. I don't like wasting certain people's time, but I think that those guys are deserving of interviews, but also at the same time, we got to be able to get the Rooney Rule satisfied. So if you're like, I want a Kubiak, I want a Jesse Minter, when they walk through that freaking door, you find a way to not allow them to leave. So in terms of Minter, I'm going to give this an A-plus grade. I know that there might be some people a little bit concerned about Minter, the coach himself. I hear you. The coach himself, I hear you. But to me, let's build the plan. Minter's got Michigan ties. Spytek's got Michigan ties. Brady's got Michigan ties. I do think that the Michigan philosophy about building a team, it's so important for the Raiders. They got to build a team because what you don't really have right now is a team. Because when you bring in people from the Pete Carroll, the Antonio Pierce, Josh McDaniels, Gruden, you got all these different GMs, all these different coaching staffs, you kind of got a bad melting pot. And instead of it being able to melt together, well, it's not forging correctly, and it's breaking and just popping loose at the seams. It's why we have the number one overall pick. So to me, when I think about overall plan and structure, full-on rebuild, true rebuild, if you want to rebuild, I think Jesse Minter is the best guy to help you do that. But unbelievably important for Minter to be able to bring in the right OC, because if he doesn't, I will drop that A-plus grade ASAP Rocky. Let's go to another name here. It's John Harbaugh. And again, I want to be clear. The Raiders have yet to request an interview with Harbaugh. However, it was reported by Adam Schefter, and I put out a video yesterday, if you did not see it, that Harbaugh and the Raiders have already had preliminary and extensive conversations. If there's already been conversations being had, probably going to be an interview coming soon, because the report also was that Harbaugh will start to see where he wants to interview, how the whole interview process is going to go down. He did interview with the Atlanta Falcons on Monday, so that tells me that more are soon to be coming here. This might shock some people. I'm going to give John Harbaugh a B grade. And if you're sitting there going, man, I did not expect that, go check out my video that I did yesterday. And if you want to see why, there's a lot of things in there, because to me, you got to learn from history. You got to learn from the Pete Carroll, right? You got to learn how Josh McDaniels went down. You got to learn what happened with Gruden. You got to learn what happened with AP Telesco. And if you're the Raiders, you have to be able to learn and learn and learn and learn. And I do think that there's a lot to be learned from Harbaugh. He's an outstanding coach. But based on what I think we need right now, I want a young, innovative coach that's willing to work with everybody and not asking for too much control. And for that reason, John Harbaugh is a B grade. Here are some other head coach candidates that you might see the Raiders put out a little bit of a feeler for. I also say this, they're not going to put out one for John Gruden. I just wanted to put this on here so everybody knew that if the Raiders wanted to hire John Gruden, it would be a big old fat F, because he already failed before with the Raiders. In terms of Saleh, I'll give this an A-. Brian Flores was somebody that I had in my top 5 the first time I did a Raiders head coach candidate video. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if he would even crack my top 10 based on some of the information that has been shared with me. Grant Udinski, I'd give this one a B, only 29 years old. Jags offensive coordinator Joe Brady, Bills OC, and then Mike McDaniel. A lot of Bs. But for Saleh, if you told me I can get Saleh and a Mike McDaniel, that's an A-plus pairing in my book. So again, y'all, I wanted to be able to do this show. I wanted to be able to let y'all know where exactly I sit with all these coaching grades. If any more coaches end up getting an interview request, I will get you guys a short, so that's why you got to hit that subscribe button. The next time you're going to see me, I will be live here on the Raiders Report, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific.